clashes with Russians in the Dnipropetrovsk region, explosions on the Crimean railway, and facing a drone barehanded. Never try to repeat the video we are going to show you today. All this and more in the TSN broadcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, watch the broadcast, and be sure to comment on what you found most interesting. And here are just a few more important topics that will be thoroughly covered next in detail. With his throat slit, he managed to escape from a mass grave.
And then they continued to interrogate them. They gouged out their eyes and cut off their lips.
How did a Ukrainian National Guardsman survive an execution in Russian captivity, and what helped him escape? The enemy continues to terrorize civilians in the Sumy region. There are 6 wounded, 3 of them residents of Shostka. In the city, a strike hit critical infrastructure, leaving part of the community without electricity and causing disruptions in communication. At night, the Russians attacked the Berdyansk community with drones. One of them struck a residential house. A fire broke out and 2 women were injured. In the Mykolaiv community, an FPV drone seriously injured an elderly man who had evacuated to Sumy but returned home to harvest his crops. Rescuers were extinguishing fires until morning, and in Sumy itself, warehouses were burning as a result of drone strikes. 1 worker was killed and 3 were injured in the Dobropillia community. The Russians struck a mine in the Donetsk region. Due to the power outage at the mine, 146 miners were trapped underground. All of them have now been brought to the surface. Due to the high activity of Russian drones, the Kherson-Mykolaiv highway will be closed. There, the occupiers are deliberately targeting civilian vehicles. In the morning, they fired on a medical vehicle. The medical director and a doctor were injured. The same criminals using drones also wounded 2 passers-by in Kherson and its suburbs, as well as a woman in Mykilske. In the Kharkiv region, a resident of the village of Slatin was wounded. Her house was damaged, and near Vovchansk, the occupiers dropped explosives from a drone onto a car. 2 people suffered acute stress reactions. The Russians also struck Novogeorgievka with a drone, which is already in the Zaporizhzhia region. A 25-year-old woman was wounded, and in total, the enemy used more than 300 drones against frontline settlements. The region, in fact, endured nearly 500 separate attacks in a single day alone. Destroyed homes, no electricity, and constant shelling. When living in such dire conditions becomes truly unbearable, people often agree to evacuate. From Primorsky in the Zaporizhzhia region, police evacuated 6 more people, a mother with a disabled son, an elderly couple, and 2 solitary residents of the village. Every single one of them was afraid to leave, clinging to their homes and property, but they say that staying near the front line had become extremely dangerous. They took only the bare essentials with them. Some also brought their pets, a dog and a cat. People hope that in their new place it will be calmer, and that even though they've lost everything, at least they will save their lives.
The electrical cable. There's absolutely no electricity. There were very serious and widespread power outages. That's precisely why we decided to leave.
We also believe that this will also be better for us, and in the long run, at the very least, we'll be able to survive and thrive.
A new day in the occupied territories began with explosions. In Crimea, drones attacked the occupiers' railway infrastructure. The key junction near Dzhankoy is out of operation. According to local media, a drone hit a substation, so for now, Russian logistics in that region are disrupted. And this is already the 2nd time this week. 5 days ago, a strike in Dzhankoy hit a train carrying fuel. Explosions also rang out last night near the occupied city of Makivka in Donetsk region. Local social media groups reported a drone attack. People filmed videos, openly commenting on the very significant scale of what they saw. The Russian Novotek plant on the Baltic Sea, which was attacked by drones on Ukraine's Independence Day on that particular day, has indeed now completely suspended its operations. Fires were seen on Sunday at several oil and gas industrial facilities in Russia at once. Numerous videos showing the massive fire at one of Novotek's terminals in the port of Ust-Luga spread across social media. This maritime terminal is one of the key logistics facilities on the Baltic Sea. From there, energy resources are exported via the so-called shadow fleet, bypassing sanctions. Aviation fuel, fuel oil, and diesel, essential for refueling Russian military equipment, are also produced, or rather, were produced there. According to Reuters, Novotek could not withstand the strikes by Ukrainian drones. The complex shut down immediately on Sunday. At least 1 processing unit with a capacity of 3 million tons per year has been damaged. Meanwhile, at the Novoshaktinsk oil refinery, the fire was only extinguished today. The plant burned for 5 days. Following the drone strike, a total of 6 storage tanks were completely destroyed by fire, according to recent Maxar satellite images. and 2 more were damaged. Overall, Reuters has calculated that Ukrainian attacks have already destroyed about 17% of Russia's oil refining capacity, meaning at least 10 plants have been seriously damaged. This has disrupted exports, caused fuel shortages, and as a result, slowed the occupiers' advance on the front line. The Ukrainian General Staff has denied the occupation of 2 villages in the Dnipropetrovsk region, which had previously been reported by deep state analysts. According to the latest information, the defense forces have halted the Russian advance and continue to control the village of Zaporizke, while fighting is ongoing in the area of another village, Novogeorgievka. The General Staff also reports that our troops are liberating settlements in the Donetsk region, putting pressure on enemy positions east of Dobropillia, and according to the Institute for the Study of War, Ukrainian forces have pushed the occupiers out of positions near the Dobropillia-Kramatorsk highway and to the south of Vesele. Just on August 24th, our fighters managed to liberate Mikhailivka, Zeleny High, and Volodymyrivka. However, there is no talk of a major counteroffensive. Right now, it's important to stabilize the line of contact, the military says. In just the past day, more than 170 enemy assaults were recorded on the front line. The occupiers are actively using guided aerial bombs, KABs. Nearly 130 heavy bombs were dropped on Ukrainian positions in a single day. About 5,000 drones were used. The Pokrovsk direction remains the hottest spot usual. There, 43 enemy assaults were repelled in the areas of the settlements of Mayak, Mirolyubivka, and Sukhi Yar. It is also hot on the Lyman sector. 28 attacks were repelled there. Fierce fighting is also ongoing in the Novopavlivka and Kramatorsk directions. Over the past day, our defenders have struck 5 areas of concentration of personnel, weapons, and military equipment, 2 enemy artillery systems, and destroyed almost 900 occupiers. Drone versus gun. We have extensive footage of the intense battles for Pokrovsk and Myrnohrad, including a detailed look at how skilled drone pilots of the 7th Airborne Assault Corps effectively use an FPV drone to precisely neutralize a well-camouflaged enemy gun. In the video, the drone skillfully navigates through buildings and natural obstacles, locates the hidden enemy position, assesses the target, and strikes it. According to the 7th Rapid Response Corps, over the past week in the Pokrovsk Myrnohrad defense sector, our soldiers damaged 12 enemy artillery systems and rocket complexes, including the Grad and the heavy flamethrower TOS-1. In total, during this period on the approaches to Pokrovsk, more than 260 occupiers were eliminated, along with 138 enemy drones and 48 vehicles and motorcycles. Barehanded against an enemy FPV drone on fiber optics. Ukrainian soldiers witnessed a resident of Pokrovsk neutralize a Russian drone carrying explosives. The military shared the video of the daredevil on their Telegram channel. According to experts, the drone had its motors turned off and was likely waiting for the command to attack. However, when the occupiers clearly saw the camera moving, they immediately tried to retrieve it from the ambush, but they didn't quite make it in time. The video shows the man disabling it, tearing off the fiber optic cable and wires that were connected to the explosives. The daredevil acted like a professional, the soldiers joke, but they urge people not to repeat this feat and under no circumstances to approach enemy drones. Instead, they advise reporting them to the armed forces as quickly as possible. We also once again urge you not to repeat such reckless feats, but at the same time let us know in the comments if you have ever had to contact the military or the state emergency service because of various potentially dangerous discoveries. And were there any who, at their own risk, tried to handle everything on their own like this? I'm looking forward to your comments under this episode. And don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel. This is the TSN team with you. And we still have important things ahead in this episode. With his throat cut, he managed to escape from a mass grave of tortured defenders. In Dnipro, they are treating Vladislav, a National Guardsman who was severely wounded and captured in Donetsk region in August. He and 7 other servicemen were brutally tortured by the Russians in Mirolyubivka, and then all of them were buried in a pit and covered with trash and debris. Vladislav managed to survive and crawl back to his own only by a miracle. He cannot speak, but he writes about what he went through. He told Olha Pavlovska how he managed to escape.
He smiles. Finally, he is next to his brother and wife and assures with gestures that he will not give up. Vladislav writes in his notebook about what truly helped him to endure the impossible.
All the time, I consistently kept seeing my wife and my daughter right before my eyes.
In August, there was intense shelling near Mirolyubivka in Donetsk region. Vladislav and his comrades decided to split up to find shelter, but in the village he was captured by the occupiers.
He was taken to a dark basement. There was a lot of blood there, and all those guys who had died, who had been cut up, they were already on their knees, already tied up on their knees, and then they were interrogated further. Their eyes were gouged out, their lips were cut off, their male organs were cut off, a piece of his ear was also cut off.
And then his throat was brutally slit, and perhaps they simply got tired, Vladislav assumes. He was the eighth in line for the prolonged torture. All the unfortunate prisoners whom the Russians considered dead after the severe torture were buried in a deep pit while still tightly tied up and completely covered with garbage.
We spent a night with them, with those who had died in the pit. It was only then, at that precise moment, that I cut my hand, the thick rope with a jagged broken bottle, and slowly started crawling out. But after that, I was even more afraid of running into them. Well, if that had happened, then...
Victoria learned that her husband was missing on August 13th, but until the very end she still believed that her dear beloved was alive. He says he's been in the military his whole life.
And this sunshine is what we call it landed. And there you have your little pit.
Vlad is so truly resourceful. You know, he's quite strong. He's so indeed energetic that he must have just hidden somewhere and gotten lost, like, well, nothing could have just happened to him.
The medics consider it incredible that he survived. And the fact that he managed to crawl back to his own is even more so.
We can't show the photo. It's very gruesome, more terrifying than you can even imagine. He started to slowly get out, carefully covering his throat with various scraps of clothing. He was completely without water or food for almost 5 long days. He absolutely had to catch mice, then tear them completely apart, and subsequently drink their very own blood just to adequately quench his intense thirst.
Vladislav spent his 33rd birthday in the intensive care unit of a hospital in Dnipro. First of all, he wanted to see his daughter, even if only by video.
She recognized him, waved from there, and they exchanged papa and little hearts. She told her grandmother, "Grandma, when you come, I won't play with Dad. He has bandages all over."
Vladislav has many surgeries ahead of him. The doctors hope that despite the extremely severe injury, they will be able to restore.
The very best surgeons have already taken on this challenging case, to perform such a truly perfect surgery that the stitches won't be visible at all, so he can speak and breathe completely on his own, to put all of this together into one cohesive whole.
But he truly wants to return to the army as soon as he possibly can, and explains why.
So that those despicable bastards truly feel every agonizing sensation and profound suffering that I, along with our 7 brave and loyal Cossack comrades, personally endured and experienced.
Since he can't speak yet, he writes down everything he's been through, including descriptions of his torturers.
He is certain he will be able to return to duty and ensure the enemy gets what they deserve. For now, he profoundly hopes that he will be able to use his own voice to lovingly wish his cherished daughter a truly happy 5th birthday. This is Alexander Kulishin reporting from Dnipro for TSN 1+1.
The Polish president's office has officially denied recent reports that his potential veto will leave Ukraine without crucial Starlink services. This was stated by the head of the presidential office, Zbigniew Bogucki. President Nawrocki's veto, he wrote, does not turn off Starlink internet for Ukraine, since the expenses for this service are covered under the provisions of the current law, and the bill submitted by the President of Poland to the Sejm maintains this arrangement. It will be sufficient to promptly consider this presidential initiative in the Polish parliament in September. After this statement, Bogucki also lashed out at Deputy Prime Minister Gokowski, who had previously claimed that the President of Poland, by vetoing the law on aid to Ukrainians, had effectively brought an end to the Starlink internet that Poland provides to war-torn Ukraine. However, according to the explanations from the head of the Chancellery, the risk of Ukraine losing access to Starlink still exists if the parliament refuses to vote for the president's bill in September. At the beginning of spring, the Polish government stated that Poland had spent nearly $83 million on Starlink for Ukraine during the full-scale war. The Russians' decision to open the ports is worthless, and Ukraine's Ministry of Foreign Affairs strongly condemns it in every way. The ministry released this response to the occupiers' statement about opening the ports in the occupied cities of Berdyansk and Mariupol. Recently, it became known that the Prime Minister of the Russian Federation has already signed a permit to allow foreign vessels into the occupied Ukrainian cities. In this way, the Russians want to take even more looted goods out of Ukraine. First and foremost, this concerns Ukrainian metal, coal and grain, which the Russians are eager to remove from Donbass and the occupied part of Zaporizhzhia. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has regarded such actions as yet another attempt by the Russians to legitimize their occupation, in addition to consolidate their illegal control over Ukrainian territories. Therefore, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs calls on the international community to respond to the Russians' cynical exploitation of the occupied Ukrainian lands. A sand apocalypse in Arizona, USA. Due to the storm that hit the state, its largest airport lost power. All flights were canceled and more than 55,000 people were left without electricity. The streets are completely shrouded in a thick curtain of dust, with visibility literally at absolute zero. Natural phenomena of this particular kind most often occur in the arid regions of the southwestern United States. The Burning Man Festival in the Black Rock Desert in neighboring Nevada was also affected. There, the wind was blowing at a speed of 80 kilometers per hour and visibility dropped to 30 centimeters. The storm damaged art installations and several camps. In particular, the wind completely destroyed the newly installed Ukrainian installation Black Cloud. The organizers were forced to prohibit artists from working on their pieces.